After a hearty breakfast at Morrison's cooked by my sister Alison with my very good friend Tom Gaskin, on Wednesday the 5th of October 2022, after the substantial breakfast we went to Old Trafford, the home of Manchester United. We got a full tour of the stadium. I got to sit in David De Gea's seat, and we even got to walk down the famous tunnel and out onto the pitch in front of a empty stadium. But we weren't there for the football, and we weren't even there to win a Baxter the dog. We were there to see this, or more specifically, the changes Ideal have made to their Logic range of combination boilers. It's now called the Ideal Logic 2 Max boiler. One of the first things I've noticed is they've now fixed the seal for the flue turret at the top of the boiler. The next thing I noticed is there's a larger high resolution colour screen, and there's only now 2 dials on the front of the boiler. On the screen there is now a new preheat system which actually learns how you use the boiler and preheats the water before you need it. You will also find now there is no stops on the 2 dials. They will just spin completely around, and this will stop people snapping off the potentiometers on the PCB, and then meaning Ideal shouldn't have to go out and replace the board under warranty. Now on the display screen you get everything that you've always got with all the other Ideal boilers, but now you've got a cooling mode. So if you go to service this boiler, you can put it in cooling mode. It will run the fan, it will run the pump, but it won't fire the boiler up, so it will cool it down for you to be able to do your flue gas analysing. Another new feature is condensate trap priming, so that means it will run the boiler in condensing mode and fill the trap for you, but I guess most people will still just fill the trap up first. To get the boiler in fully condensing mode, when you actually activate this condensate trap priming, it tells you to turn the hot tap on full for 7 minutes. While it's running for 7 minutes, you might as well gas rate it on hot water as well. Another new setting they've got is to stop the maximum flow temperature being altered by the customer. So you could set it to your 55 degrees like you're supposed to do now, and no matter what the customer does when they turn the knobs, it won't change the temperature. I guess you've noticed there's no pressure gauge there now, so if we press the flap down, it's been moved behind the flap. And because there's only 2 knobs now, the on-off winter-summer is now a smart key. So if we look underneath, you can see the flow, return, the gas, the hot and the cold are pretty much in the same location. But the condensate and the pressure relief discharge pipe have now moved, and the blow-off now is on the opposite side. So it's now on the left-hand side where it used to be on the right. And also there is now a quick release coupling for the blow-off. So no soldering needed here. You just literally put the swage pipe up and it clamps on. The condensate now is closer to the wall, so it could actually make it a little bit harder putting your condensate pipe in. And obviously if you're changing this boiler from an old gen, then you're going to have to move the blow off. Now one of the changes made underneath the boiler is one I don't really understand why they've done it, but they've changed the colour of one of the handles on the filling loop. The valve on the return side now is this green colour, rather than having 2 blue handles. I guess the only reason why they've done this is to help the customers being able to identify which valve is which when they need to top up the boiler. So if we remove the cover, we can have a look at the changes inside the boiler. So the first thing is there's a new fan. It's made by the same company as the old fan, but it's just a little bit quieter, this one. So just down from the fan you can see there's an electrode missing. So they've gone to 1 electrode now instead of 2. So this electrode is like a lot of boilers where it'll do the ignition and flame rectification. There's also a new spark generator, which is the one they use on the Vogue boiler. You can also see the gas valve's not where it was. It's now been moved to the bottom of the boiler, and this is supposed to make it a lot safer now, so engineers aren't leaving leaks on the connections to the gas valve. Next you can see the condensate trap's moved, so it's moved from the middle now to the left hand side. That's why there's a new position for the condensate outlet pipe. Now you can also see the casing now is the clamp to hold in the condensate trap. You can see here, if you turn it straight forward, you can't get it out. But if you turn it slightly clockwise, then you can remove it. Now we've removed the condensate trap, you can now see the new position of the pressure relief valve, and you can see how easy it is to get out. So you just remove this clip, and then with a bit of pulling, twisting, because we need to get the pipe out as well, you can now see the swage part of the pipe here on the end, where the pipe on the outside will just slot up, and then the rubber connection then will make the seal around the two. Another change they've made is actually on the wiring, which has kind of gone backwards. So we've kind of gone back to the old terminal blocks now to make it easier to get the wires in. So on the left hand side here, we've got the high voltage side. And if we go to the right hand side of the panel, you can see the low voltage side, which is the weather compensation and the open therm connections. So that's the wiring. Another quite significant change is the thermistors. So you can see the thermistor, what's normally here at the top, is missing, and the thermistor here, down here on the return, is missing. So they've now gone to 3 thermistors, one on the flow pipe, one on the hot water pipe, and one on the return pipe. Now the reason why they've done this is if you want to do preheated water on the old logic, you couldn't do it because the boiler wouldn't be able to sense the preheated water coming in, and it would spit out very, very hot water, so it would be dangerous. But on this boiler now, because of the extra thermistors on the hot water one here, it will now sense the water is preheated, and this is the return one. It will now sense the water is preheated, and it won't spit out hot water because it'll be able to either come on or go off depending on the water what's going into the boiler. So with these new thermistors now, it makes it compatible with all green heating technologies, including solar therm and hybrid systems. So if we take our last look inside, the actual pump is still the same ERP pump. The diverter motor is still the same, and the paddle is still the same, and it's still the same plate-to-plate heat exchanger. Obviously the heat exchanger is the same, but we've got the missing flame rectification probe, so it has changed slightly. The burner's the same, and the expansion vessel is the same. And obviously they made changes to the sump a while ago. So if we look at the final part of the controls, you can still use the same halo controls on this boiler like you can on all the other ideal range of boilers. And the final thing is, if you need to stand this boiler off the wall, you will require a new standoff jig. The old jig won't fit this boiler. Now the max range of boilers comes with this magnetic filter, which could extend the warranty of your boiler. But it doesn't come with this mini shock arrestor, which you may have to fit if you have a water meter or a non-return valve installed on the cold water supply. So that's the changes Ideal have made to their Logic range of boilers. Or is it? Hold on a minute. Let's fast forward to Installer Show on Wednesday the 28th of June 2023. So before I went to the show, I had heard rumours that Ideal had made changes to some of their changes. And if we look down at the bottom here, we can see the condensate trap is still been moved to the left hand side, but there's no pressure relief valve behind it now. You can see the pressure relief valve has been moved back to the right hand side behind the pump. If we have a look underneath, yes, you can still see the condensate pipe is still in the same place, but this pressure relief valve pipe is here on the right. Also, you can see the quick install and quick release coupling they've made has vanished, and it's gone back to just being a piece of copper. And now in the fittings pack, you get a compression 15mm straight connector, just like you used to in the first gen of the Logic boilers. Also in the fittings pack now, you get an offset piece of pipe for the condensate pipe, because Ideal have listened to complaints that engineers have given them about the changes to the Logic 2 Max range of boilers. So, unlike most manufacturers, Logic have actually listened and made the decision, which is quite a big decision, to go back to how it was. So finally, this is my look at the changes made to the changes of the Ideal Logic 2 Max range of boilers. Hope you liked the video, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.